As you could probably guess, I kind of wanted to do this review earlier this month, but I'm kind of bad at managing my time, I'm noticing. And I'm gonna go ahead and do this review without the other voices because, well, see previous statement. But anyway, this Avengers movie has been kind of been built up ever since 2008, the first Iron Man movie, and ever since then they've Marvel been making the different superhero movies, building up, and at the end of every movie they'd have a little end credit scene to pass along the different through all the universe. It's really more than just sequel baiting, like usually at the end credits scene, with where it's just like, ooh, stay tuned next time. But no, it was actually teasing different things, so it actually feels like a connected universe. But let me go ahead and say the plot in a sentence. A collection of several superheroes assemble to save the world from an alien invasion. The film opens up with the secretive government agency known as the Strategic Hazard Intervention Espionage Logistics Directive. They're also known as S.H.I.E.L.D. They're a secretive government agency that all the conspiracy nuts wet dream of what the secret evil government's doing. But anyway, they're doing experiments with the Tesseract, which is something from the Captain America movie. At the end of the Captain America movie, spoilers, he had crashed into the ocean with the Tesseract, so they had dug it out of the ocean and was doing experiments with it. It's kind of weird that they waited so long to do experiments with it, but whatever. While they were trying to figure out how the Tesseract worked, Loki was able to open up a wormhole so he can get to Earth. Loki, he says he's working for the aliens known as the Chitauri. They don't say who much of the Chitauri are. They just they're the evil bad guys that want to take over the world. I really wish bad guys would have more motivation than just take over the world, because that's what bad guys do, you know. It'd be nice to have a guy that wants to take over the world, other than take over the world. But anyway, but Loki really, I don't get the feeling that Loki wants to take over the world. He's working for them, but he's not working with them. I don't know. A lot of Loki has a lot of lady fans, but let's see. But yeah, that's what he kind of just pops in, blows some stuff up, and then just kind of hangs out the rest of the movie. The person in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. is director Nick Fury, and he's played by Samuel L. Jackson. And don't get me wrong about Mr. Jackson, Sam Jackson. He doesn't have much of a range of characters. Yeah, he's the coolest person there, and his subordinates can match up with how cool he is. But if I say the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. is Samuel L. Jackson, it's pretty much what it is. Another top agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is Agent Phil Coulson. Agent Coulson has been in the one of the characters linking all of the Marvel movies together. He's a very kind of Men in Black kind of smooth agent, smooth government agent. Although he does have a bit of a nerdy side, he's kind of a fangirl over Captain America. And when Loki drops in from the Tesseract experiments, he's kind of tasked with getting the rest of the team together. The first person he contacts after the S.H.I.E.L.D. experiment is Agent Romanoff, aka the Black Widow. Her skills include superb hand-to-hand combat and small arms fire. She's basically a super spy. Her main technique is feigning a weakened position or feigning weakness, and then coercing all the information out of someone. It's kind of entertaining to watch, and one way with the little skin tight black suit she's wearing. But anyway, yeah, she's another character that's just spanned all of the most of the different series, mainly in Iron Man. But and although she didn't get her own movie, which is kind of unfortunate, she still has her character fleshed out through all the other movies she's in. And Agent Coulson tells her to bring in the big guy. At first, she assumes it's Tony Stark, the Iron Man, but no, Coulson goes after Iron Man himself to recruit him. Iron Man, Tony Stark, is a millionaire playboy philanthropist. He built Iron Man's armor suit that could fly. It's a battle suit that runs on the arc technology, which he invented, which is a little. They say it's a nuclear reactor kind of thing that sits in his chest. It's kind of badass. But, well, of course, I think it's badass. I'm trying to build a suit myself. But anyway, and although he kind of did inherit his fortune and he's kind of just naturally gifted, he is an arrogant asshole kind of sitting around. And kind of making a list of characters without superpowers of people without superpowers, and his arrogance is kind of B-listed. Although his intelligence should be listed as a superpower because he did invent the new power source and the Iron Man suits, and he did invent a fully functional artificial intelligence known as Jarvis. And it's kind of interesting how Coulson doesn't really even say anything. He just, when he shows up to Tony Stark's tower, named Stark Tower, he just kind of says, "You're coming in," and Iron Man says, "No, I'm not," and he says, "Yeah, you are." Okay, I'm coming in. But most of the team is just like, "Okay, I'm coming in now." There's not a whole lot of convincing. While Coulson is recruiting Tony Stark, Director Fury goes to recruit Captain America himself. Captain America is also known as Steve Rogers, is his civilian name, but he back in World War II he signed up for a super soldier program, which gave him pretty much the peak of human potential. He doesn't have super strength as well as he's just as strong as a human can get. He doesn't have super speed. He can just run as fast as a human possibly can. I'm sure you can look up the stats online on that. But anyway, and back in World War II, he signed up for the army because he said he doesn't like bullies, so that's why he wanted to beat the Nazis. And so he's kind of having a hard time acclimating to the 21st century America. Not exactly America, fuck yeah kind of guy. But it's kind of interesting in the comic books. I haven't read any comics books, but all the pictures I've seen of him is kind of this mountain of muscle, and in the movies they kind of streamlined him. It's kind of not exactly that Mr. America built. No, well, I guess it is about no. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of he looks like a regular guy, but he's at the peak of human condition. You know, while Coulson and Fury were recruiting Iron Man and Captain America, Black Widow was tasked with bringing in Bruce Banner, and they kind of used her technique specialities, because while the other two were just kind of like, okay, we're here, a recruitment probably. Bruce Banner needed a little encouragement to come in because his alter ego is known as the Hulk, which is just a berserker, just a it is just a mountain of muscle, just ripping every single thing apart. It's kind of entertaining to watch. Hulk is my favorite of the Avengers. Person I would want to be is Iron Man, but the first person I love watching is Hulk. And the problem of Bruce coming in is because he doesn't like turning into the Hulk. It doesn't seem like a very pleasant experience for him, mainly because he's kind of a pacifist, and the Hulk is like the opposite of that. And he's afraid that they just want to use the Hulk to smash everything, which kind of they do in the climax, of course, because you can't have the Bruce Banner in a movie without the climax of Hulk smashing everything. But Natasha, Black Widow, convinces him that he's just there to help him find the Tesseract, which Loki stole. One of the last characters to join in to the movie was the Loki's brother, Thor. It's not really explained how Thor got there. It's implied that he used Odin's powers, but he didn't really say how, because at the end of the Thor movie, it was kind of implied that, well, it's kind of confusing how Loki got there as well, because at the end of the Thor movie, Loki was just falling into space, and it was heavily implied that Thor was trapped in his own universe. So it's like, okay, Thor's here. Why is Thor here? Because he's Loki's enemy. Anyway, Thor and Loki are pretty much the Norse legends. They are the Loki, the trickster god, and Thor, the thunder god. In the Marvel universe, those people actually exist. And as a god of thunder, he kind of has the powers of lightning, which mainly are only through his hammer. I haven't seen him actually throwing lightning from his hands. He just focuses through his hammer, Mjolnir, which the powers of Mjolnir, he can fly by throwing it. He kind of throws it and holds onto it. He can fly. Mjolnir you have to be worthy of picking up the hammer, which so far in the movie universe, only he is able to do, because you have to be worthy of the power of Thor, and only Thor is worthy of Thor. So far anyway. And as a god, he's kind of invulnerable, although Loki stabs him once. He can fly with throwing his hammer. He can throw lightning through his hammer, and but also he has I don't know, super strength. I haven't seen him like pick up a car or anything, but he seems to be able to hit really hard. The problem I have with Thor just dropping in, it's kind of just dropping in because plot convenience. He's just there because he's supposed to be there now. So he's not like, oh, Loki's here, we better call to Asgard to get Thor here. He's just, bam, Thor's here. And it's not really clear what his call to action is, though, but he claims to be wanting to protect humanity, which Loki kind of gives him a hard time for. He's the first team member introduced in the movie, but he's the last one to join the team. Spoiler reasons for that, but it's Clint Barton, and he's aka the Hawkeye, and his abilities is he can shoot a bow. He's a bow and arrow guy. He has a bunch of trick arrows that do different things like explosions and grapple hooks and all that kind of weird stuff that gotta come up with an excuse why he's using a bow and arrow in a modern movie. But and unfortunately, unlike the other characters, this is the movie he's introduced in, and that he really suffers through that because he's just this guy. He pops in, and now he's a team member. Okay, who the hell is this guy? He's Hawkeye. In fact, he's never really called Hawkeye in the movie. He's called the Hawk. Um, Seems like a pretty cool guy though, personality-wise. Kind of lame that he's still using a bow and arrow. It's modern day. Get a gun. And that'll get me to what I don't like about this movie. They are introducing a lot of characters. It's like, oh, there's Thor. Who the hell is Thor? Go watch that movie. Oh, there's Iron Man. Who the hell is Iron Man? Go watch those movies. It's like, I'm afraid that there will be a point where, to watch a Marvel movie, you'll have to watch 20 other movies to understand what the hell is going on. And something else that really bothers me about the movie is once the characters are like, oh shit's going down, we better get the team together, and then the team's sitting around for 2/3 of the movie waiting for the climax to happen. They say they're waiting to find the Tesseract, but they kind of just figure out where it's at, and they don't like, oh, the computer found out where it's at. It's just, oh, ding, there's where it's at. And now the stuff that's really great about the movie, although I say that the convoluted universe is kind of bad, that you have to watch 20 different movies to understand who anybody is, it is kind of nice that they kind of didn't have to go over the origin stories. Like so many other superhero movies, well, let's say Spider-Man. Well, Spider-Man gets bit by a spider. Gotta kill Uncle Ben. Oh, hey, we're gonna make another Spider-Man movie? Well, go get bit by a spider and go kill Uncle Ben. Just 2/3 of each movie. It's a good chunk of all the superhero movies is getting the superheroes started again. So it's kind of nice that we can skip over the origin stories. And although Hawkeye kind of got the short end of the stick on the origins, and although there is a massive battle with pretty horrific, I'm pretty sure, destruction at the end of the movie, it's always it's always a fun feeling. It's not like the Man of Steel where it's like, oh, this building got destroyed. Oh, just the aliens invasion is just so impressive. It's a fun watch. It's really fun to watch watch the explosion. Although Michael Bay gets a lot of shit for having a lot of explosions in his movie, but anyway. And something else that gets shoved into a lot of superhero movies is a romance subplot. Don't get me wrong, a superhero can have a girlfriend, but when that's all the girl is there for, it's like, she's the girlfriend. Why? Because she's the one with the boobs. It's like, she has to fall in love with him. Why? Because, well, he has to go save her. Why? Because she's there. But there's a little plot. There is a little, not really a plot. It's just he introduced that Tony Stark has a relationship with his secretary, which, really, your secretary, pal? Anyway, yeah, that his girlfriend doesn't really get kidnapped by the bad guy because he has to rescue her because she's the one with the boobs. Yeah, but altogether, it's just a really fun movie to watch. I'll give it a 4 out of 5, mainly because the main point against it is the characters sit around for 2/3 of the movie waiting for the climax to happen. But everything that it does do well is just out of the park. Just a great movie to watch. I think that's all for now. I need to get to work. I really wanted to record this last night. But anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned next week. We're going to binge watch Cowboy Bebop. Hopefully I can get that out. And stay tuned tomorrow, Sunday, for weigh-in. Wednesday for cosplay updates. And then Saturday for Cowboy Bebop review. So thank you for watching. Have a good night.